Senator, welcome back to the program. Very exciting here. Look at us both in our suits. Look at how formal the show has become. Good time to talk about mariachi memes, and an excellent time to talk about sombrero memes and exciting little mustaches that are being placed on pretty much all of the Senate Democrats. Do they like this? Are they going to engage in some type of Stockholm syndrome? Can we expect them to actually start wearing sombreros in the Senate? How bad is this psychological warfare meme operation affecting Democrats in the Senate, Senator?
Oh, no, look, everybody loves it, and tears are flowing, tears of plenty. In the case of Republicans, it's hot tears of joy and laughter. On the Democratic side, they're less joyful. But as a lifelong fan of mariachi music, this is my pleasure. I personally am so grateful that President Trump has reinvigorated Americans' awareness and familiarity with Jarabe Tapatio. That's the name of the tune that they were playing on the first meme and on the second meme. And I'm here for it. This is a great moment in American history.
You're one yourself to share quite a few memes, and you regularly go viral on X to your, what do we have now, ALX, base Mike Lee account. We have millions of followers, probably. And so you understand this. You understand that, okay, so cruising to 1 million followers here. For the based Mike Lee account, he's at almost 700,000 subscribers. And that's mainly because you engage like this, Senator. You actually speak to the internet the way it likes to be spoken to. Could you zoom out a little bit and just kind of have maybe a conversation about how important this is to actually win the information war?
In prior eras of American history, political cartoons did the job of communicating effectively, efficiently, with very few, if any, words at all. Political cartoons have created entire political movements. They've led to upheavals. And memes, the meme wars, are basically the present day, modern day, and most effective form of the political cartoon. Donald Trump has mastered the art, as have you. I can't claim to be very good at it, but what I learned, a lot of it I learned from you. I'll put it this way, Benny. I was at a conference once where a guy named Benny Johnson told everybody there, libs can't meme. I've never understood why, but I take it as an article of faith that remains true. And just a moment ago, your last segment proved that it was true. The cat meme, what's that about? That doesn't make any sense. That's maybe vintage 2004. That doesn't work.
When we would email memes to each other.
Yeah.
The reason libs can't meme, Senator, can I answer this rhetorical question?
Please do.
The reason libs can't meme, Senator, is because they are the meme.
They are the meme.
That's why.
Yeah. No, that's right. You've explained that to me before. Or that other person named Benny Johnson. I think you're actually the same guy. Because it was a Turning Point conference. I don't think there were.
I don't recognize him in this fancy studio in this suit. I don't recognize this guy. What a sellout.
That's true. You were wearing like Air Jordans then and some jeans. So I don't know what's going on. You've done corporate. You're not working for Netflix, are you, Benny?
We have canceled our Netflix, and I haven't worn a Nike product since Colin Kaepernick took a knee. I'm telling you, Senator, I burned all my Nike products, and you cannot find me in a Nike product. Anything. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Nothing for Nike. Nothing. When I cancel something, it's canceled for life. I will never sip a Bud Light again, ever. I will never wear a Nike again, ever. Right? That's it. Yeah. They gave $30 million to Colin Kaepernick, dude. And so I'm just not going to do it. Like, I mean, this culture war stuff is personal to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear that Bud Light's really cheap now. I've never had a drink in my life, so I don't know what any of it's like. But apparently, it's really cheap. What if you needed to serve beer to your friends and they were coming over to your house and it was on sale? I mean, why not just buy the Bud Light, put it in another container, and then pour it out in a pitcher, maybe with some ice cubes?
I can tell you've never drank before, Senator, because like you would not want to put ice cubes in Bud Light, and it's already watery enough.
It works with Coke. I don't know why it wouldn't work with that.
Yeah. It looks like they're putting up some examples of based Mike Lee memes. Well. Team, this would be really smart to go find. Okay, let's look at this. Would you agree to drive this car for the rest of your life if doing so would reduce the average global temperature by 1/1000th of a degree? Senator Chris Christie would not fit in that car.
Yeah, well, not everybody would, but that's That's the point there. I read this book when I was in junior high. It was called The World's Greatest Book of Stupid Questions. And it would ask things like, would you go without eating meat for 2 weeks if by so doing you could stop the clubbing of innocent baby harp seals for 24 hours? It just makes you think.
Yeah. I mean, the answer to that is no, right? Yeah. But there's a lot that stopped, I guess, with the government shutdown. I know that's what you're here to talk about. I would love to actually talk for the next couple hours about memes with you, but let's get to the actual business of what the shutdown is. Right now, the Democrats are losing their minds. Please get me that Hakeem Jeffries versus Jake Tapper ALX, because Hakeem Jeffries had like a panic attack on CNN just a minute ago, because even CNN's calling them out, saying you are shutting down the government to give criminal aliens free health care, to give them goodies from the American taxpayer that they didn't fund. They have no right to these things. America can't even afford these things. We can't afford our own health care. And that is what this is about. Can you please confirm or deny that for us? And then we have a fun little Hakeem Jeffries video to react to.
Yeah, look, it is certainly about that. They've got other things in the mix too, but that seems to be their bottom line, without which not element. These guys so badly want to continue to reward and encourage illegal immigration that they're willing to shut down the federal government, knowing as they do now that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs over this, and not just in the furlough sense, but in the layoff sense, because Russ Vought has been dreaming about this since he was 12 and has figured out legal ways to make that happen. They are willing to do all that. So badly do they want to encourage and reward illegal immigration that they're willing to do all of this. Now, this is absolutely absurd. Crime has skyrocketed. Fentanyl deaths have skyrocketed over the last few years since President Otto Penn was in the Oval Office. And they're still wanting to encourage and reward illegal immigration. And they're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice here, having the government shut down and further empowering Donald J. Trump. Man, they must really like illegal immigration a lot. But in a bigger sense, Benny, just think about it this way. Even without using the word government shutdown, what they're saying is we're not willing to fund the government. We won't let you or the House or the president fund anything in the U.S. government. Anything at all. Not the troops, not federal payroll, anything. Unless you're willing to support illegal aliens with free taxpayer-funded health care. Now, it's more taxpayer-funded than free. It's free to them. It's not free to the American people, who are made incrementally poorer and less safe every time Democrats do this in order to encourage and reward illegal immigration. This is inexcusable. And that's why, if anything, those memes that are coming out against them, they're mild. When you look at what they're actually doing to the American people, to the rule of law, to our system of government, those are mild. So they have made their bed. They've got to sleep in it now. In the meantime, they've been encouraged in all this because they have been conditioned for years, oftentimes, sometimes with the help of squishy Republicans who should know better. But they've also been conditioned by the mainstream media to believe that they're not capable of sin. They're not capable of error. And that every time anything happens in government that doesn't make sense, that they blame the Republicans. And so if they live in this echo chamber where that's all they hear, and it's as though they're completely lacking in self-awareness as to what's actually happening and the absurdity of what they're doing to Americans.
Senator, I know that it is your obligation to say, yes, of course, we should fund our troops. Yes, there are absolute emergency services and things that must be funded, and that's bad. So let's take that and move it off the table, right? That they're like necessities and our armed forces and so on. There are some good functionaries of government, and we should fund those. Okay, so let's take that conversation off the table. We don't have to couch our conversation like that. I want to put up this truth from President Trump, and then I want to talk about what you just said about Russ Vought. Because this may provide an opportunity for Republicans to actually truly take a meat cleaver to some of the more banal and parasitic areas of government. And there's nobody who loves that conversation more than you, Senator. And so here's President Trump saying, Russ Vogt of Project 2025 fame, like if you were to write a horror film for Democrats, this would be how you would start the script, is set to determine which of many of the Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. And I can believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people. So this may be their way of wanting to quietly make America great again. Thanks, Dems. The floor is yours, Senator. What could be potentially a really good result of this opportunity that Democrats have given the White House?
First of all, I want to hand it to our commander-in-chief, our chief executive, President Donald J. Trump. He is assuming the best, to bring out the best in the Democrats, assuming, hey, maybe they've joined the cause to make America great again. Maybe they too want to drain the swamp. Maybe they too are rooting for Russ Vogt, who has been dreaming of this moment his entire life, and actually was brought to this earth, I believe, for this exact moment in time. Russ Vogt is a freaking genius. He knows the federal budgetary process inside, outside, backwards, upside down, you name it. And President Trump, because this is the kind of guy he is wanting to give credit where credit's due. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you for helping us trim the size of the federal payroll. Thank you, Democrats, for helping us show Americans that a lot of the federal government doesn't need to be there. In fact, we'd be a lot better off without it. Thank you for thanking Democrats, that the Democrats are willing, I believe, to help us reverse the march, the bad death march we've been on since April 12th, 1937, when FDR coerced the Supreme Court of the United States to amend the Constitution without going through the constitutional amendment process, dramatically expanded the size, scope, reach, and cost of the U.S. government, reaching into labor, manufacturing, agriculture, mining, health, safety, and welfare, areas that have always been the purview of the states and localities. All of a sudden, he made them federal. At that exact moment, Benny, at that exact moment, Congress, newly vested with all this power, was afraid of having to do all the work and face the accountability from all the new laws we'd have to make. So we started outsourcing it. We shall have fair labor practices. We give that to the NLRB. Fair trade practices. We give that to the FTC. Decades later, we shall have clean air. We give that to the EPA. They then make most of our laws, 100,000 pages of new laws a year that have never been voted on by a single member of the House or the Senate. So they've disrupted both the vertical protection of federalism and the horizontal protection of separation of powers in one fell swoop back in 1937. We've been on the death march ever since then. And finally, Russ Vogt and Donald Trump, with the help of the Democrats, thank you, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they're helping us get there. This is how we restore constitutionally limited government in a bipartisan moment.
Fascinating. We heard that 100,000 federal employees have been effectively given pink slips now. This was the DOGE deadline. And what may happen next? Obviously, the federal government is the single largest employer in this country and in the world, with 5 million, close to 5 million total employees. They dwarf Amazon, which only has 1.6, and Walmart, that only has 1.1. The federal government is 5 times larger than these massive companies, massive, very successful companies. We asked the chat yesterday, like, what's more efficient, Amazon or the federal government? And what, who would you rather fill a pothole in your road, right? And things have gotten out of control. Also, the salaries of federal employees is obscene. The average salary is $108,000, Senator. The average private sector salary is $65,000. So it's 40% more for the salaries for a workforce that, in my personal experience, I lived in D.C. for 15 years, is very inefficient, very slovenly, very entitled, extremely arrogant, and not willing to do work. And this has just been my experience seeing federal, the largesse of federal employment. Not all, but the largesse of it. So what could we potentially be seeing here? Could you give us could you zoom in on raw numbers? Could Russ Vogt, could this be an opportunity for them to actually cut 500,000 federal jobs that are redundant?
I don't know, and I don't believe that Russ Vogt has released the total number that could possibly be cut with this. But let me frame it this way. First of all, if we were operating under the Constitution, my copy of the Constitution says that the executive power of the U.S. government shall be vested in a president of the United States. And by having that power, I believe that necessarily extends to his ability to fire any and every executive branch employee. Keep in mind, nearly all of the federal government's employees are within the executive branch. We got a handful in the legislative branch, handful in the judicial branch, but it's no comparison to the executive branch. Article 2 of the Constitution gives the president that power, and I believe that, taken to its logical conclusion, properly interpreted, Article 2 gives the president of the United States the power to fire any and every executive branch employee, with the sole exception of the vice president, only because the vice president is independently elected, is elected alongside the president. And so we can't fire that person, but everybody else he can. But there are federal statutes that have been on the books for about a century, creating this career civil servant protection. It says that he can't technically do that. But Russ Vought has done his research on this and believes, with good authority, with the assistance of some very good lawyers at the White House, that the president has expanded power during a shutdown to deal with the extraordinary budgetary demands that you take on during a shutdown. So, I believe potentially this could be in the hundreds of thousands of employees that could be laid off. Whether the White House will, in fact, go that far, I don't know. But I will say it this way. I'm so glad you pointed out the payroll difference between Walmart and Amazon on the one hand and the U.S. government on the other hand. Keep in mind, you can't buy Doritos from the U.S. government. You can't buy a bike or a skateboard or a gallon of milk. And so it's not like we're producing things. We employ a lot more people who are, doing the opposite of producing economic value to the U.S. government. There are exceptions to this, of course. We've got the military and a number of things. But a lot of this stuff, the American people would probably be better off in the long run if the government were a much smaller shadow of its former self. And that's where I think the Democrats are taking us. And for that, I thank them.
We'll see how it works out. Any prediction as to when the government shutdown will end?
All right. So I'm an outlier on this. People have been asking me. I believe this one lasts at least 3 weeks.
Really?
Could be longer.
Wow.
It's been a long time since I've seen this much sort of determination on both sides of the aisle. Now, what's odd to me is that the Democrats have come up with an offer that is unacceptable. It failed to get agreement of any Republicans because it was built to fail. It was designed to fail. I believe they wanted this shutdown. What I don't quite understand is why, other than the fact that certain legislative leaders who may have been featured wearing sombreros lately are afraid of their own base, and they want to appear like they're fighting. But this is absurd. We're never going to go for what they're demanding. So this one, that's why I predict it'll last at least 3 weeks.
3 weeks? That's going to be a brutal battle, actually. That's going to be quite a long government shutdown.
Indeed.
Probably one of the longer ones in recent memory. Wow. It's going to be scorching for Democrats. I listened to the vast majority of the polling. The American people clearly blame the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party blames the Democrat Party for this. This is going to be it's going to be brutal for them. There's going to be and they've lost the messaging war already, obviously. So we'll see.
It's what happens when you can't meme.
That's what happens when you can't meme. Okay. Quickly here to kids who can meme and kids who love memes in Utah, Turning Point USA event. Utah State University is here, and you were at it. And it was an incredible event, and the crowd was just absolutely rowdy. We have some of the images here of just what I think was close to 7,000 people showing up in defiance of terrorism. I think would be the right way to say this. What was it like in the room, Senator?
All right, lest I be accused of stolen valor, I was virtually present. I spoke to the group via video connection. I was not able to be there because that was the same night the government was shutting down. I had to be here for votes. So recorded my video and sent it there. But I talked to a number of friends who were there. They said it was amazing. It was electric. It was fantastic. The audience participated well. They asked great questions. and a lot of good exchanges of information.
What was your message?
My message was we've got to continue forward. And I, of course, paid tribute to our friend Charlie. This whole the last few weeks have been really just saddening, devastating. I was a huge fan of Charlie's, and as I know you were. I remember just a few weeks ago when Charlie got both of these events, the event held earlier this week at Utah State, and the event that ended tragically on September 10th. He called me a few weeks ago to tell me about both events, and he said, "Mike, I want you both there. I want you at both events. Please be there." And I said, "I will be there if I possibly can, but scheduled to be voting on both of those occasions. It depends on what's on the floor and whether my vote is needed." It ended up being needed on both occasions, but absolutely a devastating loss. And what happened on September 10th, that's just a couple miles from where Sharon and I live in Provo. And stuff like this doesn't happen there. It's the safest place in the world, or at least it was until September 10th. And can't believe he's gone. Can't believe we're here. But the message there, and my message moving forward, will keep being that we're down a Charlie Kirk. And when you need one of those, nothing else will do.
Yes.
But now that we're down a Charlie Kirk, we've got to create 10 million new Charlie Kirks. People who will move forward with the same positive enthusiasm, the same happy warrior mentality, and reclaim the greatness that is this country. And encourage people, as Charlie consistently, tirelessly did, that there's a better way to live. And that was not at all limited to politics. That was only part of it.
Do you have any updates on what actually happened? Yeah, is there anything that you can give us? Like, I know that there's been, it's just such a strange and dark and peculiar thing. And I mean, Utah, as you said, like, this doesn't happen in Utah, right? It's Utah, like, of all places, like, for a guy to be living with his transgender furry, like, boyfriend and some type of, some type of insane arrangement with the text messages and everything. I mean, I talked with Cash and Dan, at Charlie's memorial, and that's, they said it's just messed up.
It really is. I talk to Cash and Dan all the time. I spoke to Cash again last night. Obviously, they're continuing to investigate. It does not appear to those investigating it that there were other shooters, as many have speculated. I don't think it's clear yet whether, to what extent, there may have been other people who helped coordinate, who helped maneuver, arrange for it. But they're continuing to investigate, and I'm sure they will keep us updated.
All right. Well, yeah, we've this is strange, man. We've looked into some of these groups, the militant queers of Salt Lake City. So yeah, like, it's like, what's going on in Utah, man? Like, there's like some of these people like mass deleting their accounts. It seems guilty as hell. They're traveling to Cuba to like work with. It's like, I'm not saying there's necessarily a connection, but I guess I just didn't know how radical that element had gotten in Utah itself. And
sometimes this happens. I mean, sometimes in a fairly conservative state like Utah, you will have those who are not conservative who want to go in the opposite direction. A lot of Bernie bros in Salt Lake City and a few other parts of Utah. The Democrats there tend to be very, very liberal Democrats. And again, but what we're being told by the investigators is that there was only one shooter. We don't know much beyond that, but they're continuing to look for who else might have been involved in one way or another, indirectly or otherwise.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that the boyfriend knew absolutely nothing about this.
Right.
I
It's
refuse to believe that. Yes, utterly implausible. Hey, that time you found me engraving all these bullets, like it just seems utterly implausible. And people get radicalized, and the left is radicalizing at a consistent, militant, and terroristic rate. And I'm very glad that the Trump administration is investigating that and cracking down. I want to end on a high note. I know there's just been a lot of dark news out of Utah. I want to end on a high note. My team has made something for you. Please don't be offended, and please don't have your team ban you ever appearing on the show ever again. We apologize for this. This is made out of love, and it just happens to be hot right now, right? Just happens to be hot. Also, we tried AI, and AI didn't work as well. This is what it looked like when we tried to do Mike Lee Mariachi AI. You're like kind of juggling the mariachis with three hands.
why do I have three hands? That's impressive, Benny. I like that.
Yep, you're like a Hindu god. Yep.
First of all, not only am I not offended, I consider that a profound compliment. I'm fluent in Spanish. I love mariachi music. My parents actually met in Mexico, and I explained to the president of Mexico a couple of years ago. This is now the former president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, also known as AMLO. I told him I think that entitles me to honorary Mexican citizenship, given that my parents met in Mexico, and he agreed. I haven't gotten a certificate yet, but it could happen, especially after he sees that dank meme. That's awesome. I do want to hear Jaime Tapatio playing in the background. If your team can arrange that, that will make my day.
I mean, AI, like we're working on it. This one, these ones I really like. Klein, put these up. These ones I really like. We're gonna have to perfect it. We're gonna have to get a little better at this.
Oh, okay. This one. That's
photorealistic. Yeah,
that is really good. I've even got good hair there. The miracle of memes.
Yes. I mean, Senator, I'm telling you, you should think about a mustache, bro.
I'm on it.
Okay. This one is this is pre-Ozempic, Mike Lee.
Okay. Hey, Benny, that feels like a hate crime right there.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I've never been that heavy.
Okay. That's what I said. Okay. All right. Enough fun.
I know I've pushed maximum density at times, but that's a degree of corpulence I have yet to achieve in this lifetime.
Yell at your friend Elon Musk, okay? He owns Grok. Yell at him. Not me. I don't own Grok. I'd love to, but I don't own Grok.
A shameless bastard Grok.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. Okay, well, we actually found the song. Maybe Klein can load it up to play us off. Everybody go follow Senator Mike Lee. Thank you for this wide-ranging and fascinating conversation, Senator. Here is the nearly 700,000 subscribers, one of the most followed senators in the entire land. Senator Mike Lee, right here, based Mike Lee account. Make sure that you're fighting with the people who are fighting for us. And yeah, it looks like we've actually added mariachi music. Play it. Let's see. Thank you, Senator. We'll see ya. Enjoy the shutdown.
Nos vemos después. Muchas gracias.
Deport this man. All right, see ya.
See you later.